Hello and welcome to Match Up, this edition of it. We're coming to you from Kellyville here, the home of St. Joseph's GA Club. They're involved in the weekend here, as three other teams are. I'm delighted to be joined by both Chris and Eddie, and we're going to go through what club are showing this weekend. They're also showing extra matches, but tonight we're going to be covering both the intermediate final, which is on Saturday at 6 o'clock, and the two senior semi-finals, Leash Shopping Centre senior semi-finals on Sunday, one at 2:30, that's Graiguecullen against Portlaoise. And then I think it's 4:30, we'll clarify that again, but is St. Joseph's, of course, who are here against the county champions Portarlington. So we'll get through it. Again, thanks to the sponsors here, Dick Dunn's Strawberry, Pat Dunn's Bar and Lounge in the Thai, and Irish Power Energy drinks. Eddie loved them the other night there, and we demanded we were out back, and they're here, and they're very good, and we'll get some sustenance out of those during the course of the evening. So again, thanks very much for that. Thanks to St. Joseph's for providing the facilities. We like to tour around through different clubs, and nice windy evening here, but St. Joseph's are in the last four. And but let's start with the intermediate final, and Saturday evening, Ballylinan against Crettyard. It's going to be a hard one to call, and Chris, I'll just start with you first. You and I both looked at Ballylinan the last day in Strawberry against Montmelic. To say the least, they looked impressive.
Yeah, they were the dominant team.
Yeah.
You know, for the vast majority of the game. You know, they took control of it relatively early. Montmelic came back at them a bit the first half, but you know, you could say they were relatively comfort once they got the goal from Cottle Casey towards the end, and that, you know, I suppose he was after coming off the bench, same as Kevin Byrne, and they have a bit more depth within their panel. Apparently they had a vomiting bug knocking around for the semi-final as well, so they done well to come through that. Alan Farrell had to go off early in the second half, but it didn't knock them out of their stride during that game. Obviously, after being relegated last year, they've been the favourites from the outset. Naturally, last year they were without Seamus Lacey, who was recuperating from a cruciate injury, has done real well so far during the year. Was obviously in with the Leash seniors and that. Big physical guy, and it'll be interesting to see if he picks up Evan O'Carroll, or if Ballylinan go with their normal full back line, and naturally with Pádraig Clancy over them, they do drop sweepers back, and you could visibly see the last day that they all well tuned into the system, and they're flexible as well within their back line, and with the help of Jesse McAvoy, and be it Jamie Farrell or Pádraig McAvoy dropping back as well, to help out, to free up the likes of Micheál Downey from the wing back position to screen in front of the full back line.
And they've had that, and as you said, they were favourites from the outset, but that's not because, you know, it's Ballylinan. They've had that great blend of younger players. Darrell Lockman there was very impressive there, as you said. Jess McAvoy was really impressed with Ryan Brady, centre forward. Really exciting player that really took command the last day. Really impressive. You'll never discount any of the Farrells. They all played really well the other day. And P-Man was at his best in the middle of the field. He cut most of those kick-outs coming through. Yeah. And then you have your two big boys up front, of course. Yeah,
he's done very well. He's done very well. P-Man in the middle all year, and that for Ballylinan and driving them from there. Jamie Farrell, obviously, who picked up an Achilles injury last year during the championship as well. He's back around the middle. Kieran was excellent in the half-hour line. Yeah. And as you said, I have the two boys, Cottle Dunn and Gary inside. They are, as we mentioned the last day, they're a traditional outfit. They don't mind kicking ball into the full forward line. Play off the percentages of what the lads will pick up. But they are very measured. They're very measured at the back as well. And Kieran Fennessy was back the last day as well. Again, in that forward role. But again, able to drop back to the half back line and able to transition the ball and break the line at pace from his rugby background. He's very effective at it as well.
Yeah, so that was him as well. They were very. Then we switch over to their opponents. No mean team at all, this one. And you come up, of course, as well, from Irish Kilcrew's point of view. Crettyard, again, back there again, wanting to get back to senior. Plenty of players in their ranks. that can do it on the day, and there's no reason why they can't.
Yeah, it'll obviously it's a local derby as well. It'll be very interesting. They also played in the first round of the championship. Played in the first round of the championship in Crettyard, pushed Ballylinan all the way. There was a lot of goals early on in the first half. I'd be surprised if we see that in the final. I think both teams might start out a bit cagier at the back. That was the first round. I suppose it was a free hit for each of them against each other with the back door there. Evan didn't play that day. Obviously, look, he brings a huge amount of talent and generally a good range of scores for Crettyard. He's their marquee forward. But as you said, they have a number of very good players as well. The likes of Cormac Murphy, who's chipping in very well from the half forward line, delivering very good ball in. Kieran Burke, as we mentioned, has had a proper run this year without serious injuries, and you can see it in his performances in midfield. They have the young Kellys as well. Jonah should be, will be dangerous, particularly back in O'Moore Park with a bit more room in the full forward line with Evan. And even at times when Evan drifts out the field, they know that they still have an effective ball winner and a scorer inside. So it's finely balanced, and as I said, the local derby element should bring a good edge to it as well. And both of them are looking forward with abundance and that in the hope of winning the final and getting back up senior.
Maybe you've come across some of them lads.
For finals, it usually being kind of a more cautious approach, maybe from both managers, obviously, because it's massive to both clubs. But no, Delaney's coming into his second year in Crettyard, and Portlaoise his first in Ballylinan. But I would think, I'm not saying for 1 minute that the two teams are one-man shows. I'm not, but I think that whoever handles, like, each team has a top-class forward, one in Gary Walsh and the other in Evan O'Carroll, and we know that. But I'm not saying that they're surrounded by great players and great footballers, obviously, in defence and in forwards with them. But whatever team handles the other rest, I think might come out on top. Now, listen, what way to do that? That's completely, I don't know. But holding Evan O'Carroll kind of half right would be a great run for them. I'm sure Parry Clancy will have things worked out for that. And likewise with Gary Watch, if you keep him quiet in the Ballylinan side, you do knock a fair bit of their try off pat. So that's going to be a key battle. Delighted to hear Michael Downey back playing he got a terrible bad injury last year, I think, wasn't it, Chris?
Yeah, they broke leg.
Shocking nice young fella, Pat, and a great little footballer, this lad. And he's a great attitude to the game. But I think that'll be a ding-dong battle now. That could be a close, Pat, because I think the two teams are level enough. Finals, a little bit of luck either way, can mean a lot here. No stupid play from any of their players, like getting sent off. That doesn't need to happen.
That's the day you don't want it.
You got to be very careful that way. And as I said, who comes out in the battle on top? You keep Gary Walsh quiet, keep Evan O'Carroll quiet. Whoever comes up with the best plan there might be successful on the day. I'm only saying might now, you know what I mean? Because there is other players that can do damage as well. And that sometimes happens too, Pat. If you pay too much attention to someone else will pop in with the danger. Like when we were playing Arsenal Cruise, if you're paying attention to this fella, Ross Mundy used to do the harm, and vice versa. You know what I mean? So that's the way the game is poised. It's a brilliant. I think it's brilliant. Now I'm looking forward to that game. It should be a cracker.
Yeah, that's good. So that's going to be Saturday evening at 6 o'clock. Clubber Paddy showing that one as well. They're showing other games over the weekend and outside of the ones we're going to discuss here tonight. So as we move on into Sunday, then there were 4. That's what I'm going to say. Then there were 4. I don't know what. We're not going to go back on who predicted what or whatever the quarterfinal was.
I think I got it right.
But you have to say on merit, the 4 top teams, as you would expect, have found themselves there. You would think, coming along. And we'll start with the way they're going to play. And on Sunday, the first game is going to be Graiguecullen against Portlaoise. Eddie, Portlaoise just. Go through it after their last epic battle, we have to say. It was a fantastic game the other day. They really got down on their bootlaces to get that one over it. And
I think
they've sent a signal.
A little bit like their opposition. They probably saved their best performance to the quarter-final. I didn't think Portlaoise started off very well, but as current the championships going on, they're getting more dangerous and they're starting to play better. If you look through their team, Pat, now there's a couple of question marks over injuries, a few injuries to have, and it'll be hugely important if they clear up or not. But after bringing blood and a few young lads into the team this year, this is Conor Raggett. He's a right good chap. Young McAvoy in there. Obviously Ben Dempsey, Mickey Downan's in now. Damien Larkin, Kevin Swain. So like they're full of talent all over the field. Now Paul Callahan went off the last day, I think, kind of nursing the calf, and of course they lost a very unfortunate Conor Boyle.
Oh, that was
so he looks like Conor's out for the year now. So Ben Redden came on for him the last day, another young lad, done well too. So Kieran Lillis didn't start the last day, Pat. Garrett Dillon didn't start the last day. So if they clear up for Portlaoise, if Lillis starts and Garrett Dillon starts and Paul Callahan starts, along with all these young lads, they'll be back and it'll take some beating. But now, for both teams, for the 4 teams, I hope the weather's a little bit better than this tonight for them at the weekend, because it's extremely hard to play football in that. But they'll be up against it, because Graiguecullen will put up yourself. They're a little bit like Portlaoise, they're improving as the championship's going along. But I think Portlaoise is kind of priming nearly at the right time, Pat. And as these lads have mentioned, they're offline it now and going well. I always say it, Pat, a key part of Portlaoise is Kieran Lillis. If he starts, he pulls all the strings for Portlaoise. So Jason Ryan, I'm sure, will have his work done there. Garrett Dillon, I seen coming off the bench, it was Jason Ryan. I'd be very disappointed with that, seeing coming back to his full fitness. He's another massive player for them. Always performs well, never has a bad game. There's a man that's coming back super form this year, Benny Carroll. So he's really improving as a championship goes on. And he was excellent last day against MCs. So, real good game of prospect. I'm expecting this to be very tight, Pat. 1 to 3 points in it either way. I better not. I'll let Chris call it, right? But
just before we go, Chris, and talk about Greg, just Portlaoise, you must have been impressed over it, and particularly when Kieran Lillis came on, when things seemed to be slipping away. Dempsey's had got back, the momentum going. They got back. I think they went up ahead by a point, and Paul Callahan had gone off at that stage. Things looked to be losing the shape, and in came Kieran Lillis. Whatever injury he carried, in fairness to him, he just got over it. And I think his first was the first introduction was him and Hatch, who was great to see the Hatch back as well. In fairness for them, it's great to see him back on the field. That was the first, I think, when they kind of made the Clyde. But after that, it seemed to live. But you must have been impressed. I know you know Kieran Lillis better than anyone. You know what I mean? But it seemed to be a real turning point for them.
Yeah, as Eddie says, he is their, you know what I mean, he's their talisman, he's their leader, you know what I mean, for the last number of years, out around the middle, comes up with big scores, and obviously they won the last day from outside the 50-yard line, you know. There was none more important in recent times. Certainly it would seem that way. Again, like he has a foot injury. Garrett has obviously been struggling with an Achilles injury. Do you know, the softer ground will probably help Garrett. It wouldn't be as hard upon the Achilles in that. I could certainly see him starting. Whether Kieran starts or whether Portlaoise hold him is questionable, because again, as Eddie mentioned, they have a lot of younger players, you know, and they stepped up to the mark. They're stepping up to the mark over the last while. Kevin Swain came up with the winner in the last match and that, but you still need that blend of experience with the youth, and that's where the likes of Paul Callahan, Kieran Lillis and Garrett Dillon are invaluable to Portlaoise. I would say Portlaoise will want 2 out of those 3 on the pitch for as often as possible, given the fact that obviously Conor Boyle is likely to miss out as well, and you know, very unfortunate.
And Ricky Marcy's found a bit of form as well. He's kind of kicking some of their frees and that as well, and he can score some points. He's always a threat. He's always a threat on goals and that. And as the year goes on, he generally gets that bit sharper. You know, in terms of the fitness and things like that. So he'll be dangerous and along with the likes of Benny and that up front and that. But it will be nip and tuck. Greg found a bit of form the last day as well. Against Collection and that, so as Eddie suggested, it will be nip and tuck. There hasn't been a draw in the Senior Football Championship yet this year. Whether it's because the refs don't want to bother with extra time or what, I'm not sure. But Eddie might fill us in more on that. Now that there's no replays. But yeah, we had 2 in the hurling last week. So it'll be interesting. Naturally, as the weather deteriorates and the winter gets to set in, scores generally are that bit lower as the championship goes on as well, and semi-finals
are there to be won. Doesn't matter how teams win them. Both of them will be vying to get into the final, and we'll see that as a step forward for both clubs.
So Graig want to get back there. They were I think it was the first year of COVID when they were in there. They got beaten by Portarlington. It was Portarlington's their first of the 3 in a row, I think. And so what did they do? And they were impressive. They dispatched fairly well the last day, I thought. They did well. Beating Collection, it was a local rivalry and all that kind of stuff thrown at it. But they coped really well with it, and in particular one man. In fairness, you talk about experience.
But Mark Timmins, unbelievable. Just like he set down the marker from the get go. He'd 1-3 scored in the first 20 minutes from centre back. Eddie mentioned the last day as regards coming up with a plan of someone maybe trying to man mark him, but again he's coming from deep. It's a lot more difficult. Whereas even if he was up playing, you hear people talking about him. You could play him centre forward, but at that stage he's back to the goals. Where he's coming from in the half back line is ideal for him. Very hard to track his runs without the lads getting attracted to the ball, and naturally he comes off the shoulder and he's super accurate. And he's their key man. Has been naturally for a number of years, and he keeps coming up with the goods. And you could see even in their defeat in the first round, once he went off with 25 minutes left, you could see the effect that it had upon Graiguecullen and that. They certainly looked that bit sharper against Collection. The tempo of their game was much better in terms of their movement of the ball. At times they can be a bit slow and pedestrian with it, but I thought they were a lot slicker against Collection, and they'll be looking to transition the ball quickly as well. Ben Dorgan had one of his better games as well the last day. Aaron is a fabulous footballer, former minor. Jack Byrne had the assist for the couple of goals as well. And the same, that blend of youth and experience, both of them have it. And ultimately, the deciding factor of the games at the weekend might be the younger lads in terms of who really steps up to the mark out of those younger lads. Keane Lawler and Graiguecullen, by all accounts, is doubtful, unfortunate with appendicitis and that. So he's unlikely to play. He's really grown into the championship. He's come up with an important goal for them earlier in the year. He read the game very well, I thought, the last day, and got a couple of super turnovers in the last 20 minutes because Collection didn't go away. In the quarter final, to their credit, they kept coming back at Graig, but they just had too much. And as I say, that start from the outset by Mark Timmins had set them up in a good place.
On the other side, another.
Sean, very good chap as well in the back line and that.
Is it 1965, Pat? 65, 66 since Graiguecullen won the championship last. And I don't want anyone texting me after saying I'm wrong in years. I could be a little bit out, right? But they got to the final. They got to the final in 2019, and Port beat them in their first championship. I think they beat Timahoe in that. I'm not sure about either in that county final, but they're a brilliant club, Graiguecullen. I actually love when they come to Moore Park. They've been a great buzz with them. They're great supporters. And even on the field, they play with their hearts, and they leave everything out in the field, every one of them. But
the Ultras got moved though the last day.
But that wouldn't mind that.
They got moved over to
Chris
the stand.
is only after saying that the young Laura, I didn't know young Laura was missing or could be missing. What a blow that is. Trevor Collins is full back and Sean McGrath. Dorgan's on the half back line along with Mark Courson. But the forwards was hugely impressive in the second half of the last day against Collection. Especially number 11, there's Ben Dorgan. Ben Dorgan, he was excellent. I love this Jack Byrne. He's full of kind of fast runs. He's only got short runs, and it's good. It's dangerous in and around the square. I'm not sure if he even scored against Collection, but what he made, I think he was involved in the 2 goals and a couple of points as well. Got fouled a few times as well. And Conor Kelly is an excellent free taker. Lee Walker had a super game. He scored 1-3 or 1-4 the last day. There's a certain Ben Dempsey in the far side that could match up there. Right. But I'm only saying that this game I think is going to be tight now. I know Chris called for a draw. I'm not sure, right? But I'd say it'll be in the balance with 5 minutes to go, 5 or 6 minutes to go. This game should be, and I hope it is, because it'll make for great excitement then. But it's definitely going to be a very interesting game, and good luck to both teams. I'm really looking forward to that game.
But well deserved. As I say, both teams deserve to be there. They've done the hard work. Both of them lost their first rounds, picked themselves up, got back from it. I mean, they didn't go directly they came the long route to the quarterfinals, had to play that round 3. So they've had plenty stuff to do. but they've got there. And
But they got their
both clubs have done it.
The good thing about, listen, Chris will tell you, he played more senior championships than I ever did, right? But it's not how you started, it's how you finish them. Right?
Yeah.
Like, and if you can improve going along in championships, like what Portarlington has done, Portlaoise have done, Graiguecullen has done as well. Joseph's have started well and kept going. You know what I mean? So, yeah, the two of them are in good form coming into this game. That's what should hope. Or that's what should make for a cracker. Now, the only thing I hope is that the weather stays half right and it'll make for a cracking game.
Yeah, generally teams with that experience, you know, and know-how of the latter stage of the championship, they're able to time their run. That bit, you know, it's not being cocky or arrogant, but at the, you know, generally speaking, unless they get hit with two unmerciful hard draws in the first two rounds, managements are able to plan, and the trainer is able to plan just for that further bit down the line, and it definitely you can see how it stands to the clubs, because we look at them. You would have to say probably Graiguecullen, Portlaoise and Portarlington. The three of them, their best performances was in the championship so far in the quarterfinals. You know.
Yeah. Okay. As I said, we don't do predictions here. We're just expecting a good game where the best team win, and hopefully we won't see the referee, whoever it is. We won't see who he is.
No guarantee to be right.
But like that, a good game in store. As I said, there'll be plenty at that, and the ultras will be out hopefully.
Actually, just on it, like it's a bit strange, like, you know, regarding the ultras. Like I remember being told about from Portlaoise man about the fanfare that Graig used to bring to O'Moore Park, going back to the 70s and the 80s, and you know, and it used to be a highlight, you know what I mean, of the matches. The boys are putting a bit of spark back in it. For some reason they weren't allowed onto the terrace the last time, so they occupied the corner of the stand, and needless to say, the shed of the stand got a few rattles. I'm not so sure the county board will want them up there the whole time either, so you might see them back on the terrace, particularly if it's raining.
So look, I suppose they make those decisions,
it's
and
all
that's
good
it. I suppose. No, it's brilliant. Absolutely, it's great. But look again, and we remember, Portlaoise have their corner, but they're kind of gone over there now as well. The corner.
They'll be back.
So look, exciting game coming up. We're delighted for the Lee Shopping Centre semi-final on Sunday in Lee O'Moore Park, 2:30. So Graiguecullen versus Portlaoise, may the best team win. So second one, semi-final. Portarlington, the champions, are playing our hosts here, St. Joseph's. We'll start with St. Joseph's, Chris. There's something different about them this year, I think, or is there? They just seem to have got it all together, and they're just doing enough and getting there, and they're
showing, I suppose the experience of the last number of years. They've had a number of heartbreaking defeats, you know what I mean, with be it late goals or late scores against them. But they're the ones that have come up with the late scores in the championship to date. When they needed to find them, you know, to beat Portlaoise and Ballylinan Abbey. The last day, I suppose, was a little bit different in the sense that the first half they were clearly the dominant team. They put a lot of pressure on the Emo kick out, and they were turning over Emo high up the field. Now they probably faded in that regard. Maybe it was physically, and it is a hard thing to do, particularly for the full hour and that. But Emo got back into it with the goals from Darren Strong. Obviously, the penalty at half time was a blow to St. Joseph's as well, and it was a boost for Emo. They still went in front by a point. They came out the second half, and their confidence was rocked maybe a small bit. You know, the fact that they probably, based on the first half, they probably deserved to maybe be 5 or 6 points in front. They were only the one. The second half was much more 50-50 with Emo. But again, they dug deep. Emo had a chance to level with a free, come back off the post, and within 40 seconds, Dylan Doyle had the ball in the back of the net, down in the other end, and that, you know. Dylan Doyle has come on in the different matches, and he's come up with big scores in the 3 games. You know, he has that burst of pace, and he's very dynamic in that. And the most pleasing thing for St. Joseph's point of view the last day would have been the spread of their scores. All their forwards, Ona Flaherty actually was their last forward, I think, to score of the starting 6 to score. And whilst they mightn't be as open maybe or as attacking minded as they were against Emo, I think you might see a bit more of a cautious approach against Portarlington, particularly early on, to make sure that Portarlington don't get a start on them and they get them into a battle. I would expect, as I say, things to be a little bit different this weekend. And I wouldn't fancy Portarlington to be scoring the high rate that they got the last day. But as I say, something in around the 13-point mark, I would reckon will be enough to win it for either side.
So Joseph, they play a real, as you said, a real hard game. So I would have seen Mikey Keogh and Josh O'Brien, them lads back defending, and then they have to travel up the field. So, but that must come to massive fitness, so that has been put into them lads.
Yeah, absolutely. And even after the in the last couple of minutes of the last day, Mickey Keogh took a ball on his own 65 over on the terrace. And just, carried the whole way and fisted the ball over the bar before they'd got the goal to nudge them further in front as well. And it just shows what's in the tank. Do you know what I mean? Within them, they have a very strong squad as well. They have a number of players that are very flexible, be it particularly around that middle third, and they're able to, as I say, bring on physical players, be it like Garrod Lynch. As I said, dynamic like Dylan, even Ian Shanahan, you might see him appear at the weekend with his pace as well, and the fact that the hurling is finished now with Ballylinan.
Yeah. Okay. So, Eddie, handy one for you. Portarlington, going for 4 in a row. Can anyone stop them?
Loads of good news for St. Joseph's here. I haven't had one to start off with, but anyway, so they're starting back motoring again. I'm not going to really dwell too much on the quarter-final. I just don't like talking about that anymore.
Okay.
But yes, so they're back going well again. Despite with the few players that they're missing, but they're brought in quality players to replace them. Just from the last day, this is bad news for Joseph now that is available. Rian Murphy didn't play, Dermot Bennett didn't play, and Scott Osborne didn't play. Now, whether the manager decides to start them three or not, if he does, it can only go up higher again.
Stephen O'Neill's around as well.
Stephen O'Neill's back around again. We've never gotten that, So listen, there's loads of talent over. Even young Murphy lad is starting in the cornerback in the full back line there. He's playing very well for them. If D. Bennett gets back fit to see, it'll release maybe Robbie Pickett out to the half-back line again, which will only make them stronger again. Jason Moore is seemingly, there's rumour that he's going overseas after this match. I'd say, Mick Dempsey's probably raging it wasn't Wednesday. but listen, I was talking to Jason before our match there. He told me a few tall ones there, so I'm looking forward to meeting again, hopefully before he goes. Right, but Jason's fine. Half-back line is the problem here. For all teams, like you could have Robbie Pickett, Moore, you could Paddy O'Sullivan. So you could have that and Dara Slevin or Colin Slevin. And these are all super players, and they're very hard to stop when they're tackling from the half-back line because they come in droves through midfield and they continue on the run. So this is how they're so hard to stop. And the 3 or 4 players, on Mull Peters, another one, that is on the half-back line are so comfortable on the ball and so dangerous. And this creates the scores then for Colin Murphys and so on. And this is how they're very hard to beat. Now, I'm sure Mick Dempsey is a wily old fox, and he'll have plenty of homework done in Port now. Now, the goalkeeper is a young chap. I can't think of his name now. The goalkeeper for young O'Reilly. He's a young lad started. I just thought he'd kick out the last day. He didn't really want to go along with him, so on. But if Scott Osborne starts and goal, that changes his plans there. So he doesn't know, obviously, Mick, who's going to start and goals for Port. But that young Wiley has done a right good job now, like coming in for young Osborne. But listen, they're full of talent all over the field, Pat. Every team is beatable, right? But Joseph's will have to be on the ball. Every one of them will have to play above themselves, and they'll have to stay in the game as long as they can. And who knows? You know what I mean? If the weather's like today, you don't know who gets the toss to play with the wind in the first half. All this comes into consideration, like with this time of the year in semi-finals and that. So Joseph will be up against it, but they'll have to be playing very well to topple Port. There's not too many weak links in the Port team. Even lads, Dara Galvin's at cementing the place in the full forward line. He's playing excellently. Obviously, he's Colin Murphy and Jake Foster beside him. And Jake Foster is only maybe a game or 2 back from an injury, so he's only starting to get.
And Jordan Fitz started the last.
Jordan Fitz started. He was out in the half.
Neither did Owen McCann in the middle of the field. Nothing wrong either.
Well, Rian Murphy has come back in, Pat. I presume he'll come into the half forward line. As you said, Jordan Fitz is there. Stephen O'Neill wasn't there the last day. So all over the field, there's not too many. And Bracken and McCann does a simple job in the middle of the field. Bracken is a kind of a, we'd say, an unsung hero for Portarlington in the last 3 or 4 years. There's not too many people talking about him, but he never has a bad game.
No.
So they're really strong all over the field. I'm not sure. Joseph's, they're playing well enough, they're going well, but they're really, as I said before, they'll have to be on the top of the game to win. Is it possible? Of course it is. One player we didn't mention, Chris had mentioned Matty Campion. I think he's playing very well for Joseph's in the last. And I tell you,
had injuries last few years.
Picked up an injury in
a young player.
semi-final.
That's right. A young player in the middle of the field for Joseph's, young Michael Dempsey. I think this is the best I've ever seen him playing in the middle of the field for. Like he's a kind of a youngish lad, and he's full of energy, and he's a great worker. So it makes for. I think we're going to have 2 very tight semi-finals. Everyone's expecting Port to win easy, and everyone's expecting Portlaoise to win. That's what the bookies say. I think Joseph's is 3-1, Portlaoise is odds on, and I'm not sure what, or Graiguecullen is 3-1. I think is it again, no, Joseph's 3-1 against Port, and Port is 1-3. I'm not sure what, Graig is only kind of maybe 2-1 or whatever, and Portlaoise favourites as well. But there'll be 2 tight games. I think they're going to be 2 cracking games, hopefully. If you're to put a gun to my head, I'd have to call it as a vote, but I'm not going to do it like.
No,
but yeah.
Look, I suppose the other thing that Joseph could be delighted about, maybe Clockbell Colour were going for 4 in a row, and that didn't happen for them. Maybe that's something to cling on to as well.
Well, it's true.
So, and you know what I mean, and we, you know, who would have said that Abbey Leaks would have got in and cameras, you know what I mean, from the way the year had been going from. But you know what I mean, back to Joseph, yes, of course, and they'll believe going over here. The cup to come back over the gap, Chris, will be no harm.
Yeah, absolutely. It's as I say, it's a long time since they've had it back here in Kellyville and that, and like a lot of the players that Eddie mentioned, you know what I mean, be it on both sides, you know, the vast majority of them have played at some stage inter-county football with Laois, be it minor 20s, seniors, like. Some of there was a lot of talk of many players Portarlington were missing from the outset of the year, but again they were replacing them with lads that had been on county squads. They're certainly hungry for it. They probably didn't see as much game time as they would have liked under Martin Murphy at different stages of the championships and that. And I think that hunger is evident within their play. You know, be it the young Slevens, Dara Galvin up front and things like that. But St. Joseph's certainly won't fear them. You know, particularly going back in their history. You know, it's a long time since they met in a knockout clash, and that, so they'll be looking forward to it, and don't expect St. Joseph's to be taking a step backwards.
I think it's 2000 since they won the championship last. They beat Portlaoise in the final in 2000, I think, and I think they lost the final to Portlaoise in 2002. So, like, they're hungry for it, St. Joseph's down here. So they'll give it a good rattle. Yeah. And they're a very proud club. And you know yourself, Pat, it's a semi-final. I think the semi-final is the worst place to go out because you're only 1 hour away from the final. You know what I mean? So, listen, as I said, I think the weather might play a bit of a part, but I hope it's going to be a little bit better than today, as I said before. So as Chris said, yeah, it could be 2 good battles. Obviously, Portarlington are favourites, and deservedly so, to be fair. Like, they're going for 4 in a row. They have played some super football in the last 3 or 4 years. They're a lovely team to watch, very exciting team to watch. But if Joseph's bring their A game, who knows? And the same with the other one. So
I suppose with the rumours as well, Chris, that there could be a couple of this Portarlington team might be the last time a lot of these fellas are together for a while. There's that kind of push for them as well, I'm sure. Could be a lot of lads travelling, and Portarlington team next year could be totally different looking outfit.
Yeah, exactly. But look, do you know what I mean? They're at the semi-final, they're at the penultimate stage. Again, they were waiting a long time, up to 3 years ago, for their first title and that. So the hunger is certainly still there. You know what I mean? Winning breeds that winning mentality. It can only benefit them and that. And I don't think it'll be for a lack of hunger anyway that Portarlington will, if St. Joseph's do get over them, I don't think both of them will be battling right to the bitter end. It's interesting when you mentioned about Keith Bracken. As you say, the half-back line are able to attack. Bracken has played in the backs in the past himself, and he gives them that screen then. You know, he's like a file in midfield, or like Kevin Walsh years ago for Galway. He's able to just sit in as an auxiliary centre-back very easy and free them up. On the opposite side, you have Mikey Dempsey, who has a huge engine, covers a huge amount of ground, gets forward for key scores or little offloads to the forwards in better positions and that. It'll be interesting to see if St. Joseph's try and try and track those runs out of Mikey,
Yeah.
or whether they just, as I say, sit in with a defence of 6 and let them come and meet them head on then around the 50-yard line.
Yeah.
You mentioned, Pat, about some of the Portarlington players going away. I think this would be to go for 4 in a row. If they win 4 in a row, they never won 5. So, might change their mind. Everyone in Port will be hoping to win anyway. So,
Do the course. So that's it. Thanks, lads. As you say, we wish the best of luck to Ballylinan and Crettyard first of all on Saturday, and then on Sunday, Portarlington and Joseph's and Graiguecullen and Portlaoise, and hopefully we'll have 2 good teams coming over facing into a final in Fortnight's time. So again, thanks for your wisdom and your thoughts on it. And as I said, clubber.ie will give you all those. Just tune into them and they'll give you all the plans or whatever they're going to be showing. It's all available there on screen. You'll be able to see what they're offering for the weekend there. Again, thanks to Clubber, but particularly thanks to St. Joseph's GA for the use of their fine facilities down here. And never know, could be down here in a couple of weeks' time with a cup, and they might.
it could be.
After you backing them there, Chris. And so, but yeah, best of luck, I said, to all the 4 teams. Again, thanks very much, and we'll see you before the final. Thanks for.